At a very young age, I've always had this passion for cars. I come from a humble town called Ipoh. I had really big ambitions and a lot of people in my family would discourage me. I put myself out there. Cars were always my passion. However, when I first started, I never had a chance to deal with cars like this today, but I always had a dream. I always want to work towards that. I started off my first dealership in like a very shabby, like a very dilapidated place under like a tree, right? Those days, there were no social media. They were like star classified. I would then look at like cheap buys on paper. So I started off as like, I remember our local made cars. So I used to buy, get it up, and I would resell it. And then we would make like a mere 2-3 grand per car. Up to a point, I told them, look, I really want to move up. I really want to deal with Ferraris. I really want to deal with Italians.
So fast forwarding, you were able to raise seed capital to start at One Corsa. How many cars do you start with, and how do you start growing that business?
Okay, interesting story, right? So we were about to get traction and we were asked to leave. And we were given like less than a month to fuck off. I felt like my whole world collapsed because when you have your back against the wall, right?
Yeah.
You only have to move forward. You don't need to know A to Z to run a business, right? Assuming you only know A to D. Along the way you learn, you pick up, you tweak, you pick up, you tweak, you build a business, you scale a business. This significantly set us apart. Like this is our business model.
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Leaders Unlocked. Today I'm joined by Billy Ooi, founder and CEO of One Corsa, a premium car dealership specializing in importing and managing some of the world's most sought after luxury vehicles. We're filming this episode directly from the exclusive One Corsa showroom, known as the Gallery of Masterpiece, right here in the heart of Mount Kiara, Kuala Lumpur. Billy's passion for automobiles started early. After graduating from university, he made a bold decision to fully commit himself to mastering the business of luxury car trading. What began as a side hustle buying and selling local cars has since grown into One Corsa, now recognized as one of the leading luxury car dealerships in the country. Billy, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me and yeah, let's roll.
Yeah. So, Billy, from the outside, your journey looks incredibly polished, right? With what you achieved to One Corsa, etc. 15 years in the luxury car space, flipping cars, dealing, importing, trading cars, building One Corsa into what it is today. But I'm always more interested in the story that people don't see. So when you strip everything back, the clientele, One Corsa, and the success stories, what do I need to learn from your earliest years to understand how you think, operate, and the business you built today?
Well, first of all, success, I feel it is just a perception. And if I could impart certain knowledge that I can share, probably just try to think big, right? Have the habit to visualize where do you want to go. I come from a humble background, and whatever or wherever I am today, I owe it to the experience I learned along the way and the people I learned along the way. Throughout my journey, I've met a lot of people who have helped me in conditioning my mind on like how I think about obstacles, about struggles. Yeah.
And I understand you came from Ipoh, right?
Yes,
Billy,
right.
your parents also ran automobile business, like parts business.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing around the business? I'm sure that played a big role in your passion for automobiles and opening and building One Corsa to what it is today.
They were in the parts and accessories business. At a very young age, I've always had this passion for cars, right? Not this kind of cars. Back then, I felt like it was really far-fetched. However, I feel that like, yes, they play a major role in like, for who I am today and how I think, and also putting me into this environment where like, the teachings that I got back then was, when I was young, was probably, hey, you know what? We come from a really poor family and we've got to work hard. We've got to try our best. When I was young, I had this impression that working hard equals results, equals success. And then along the way, my mindset has changed. I feel that like right now, at this current stage, what is more important is to be authentic, right? Just be comfortable with who you are and celebrate every little milestone or success. I feel this is a lesson I've learned along the journey of from who I was to where I am today.
Then moving on to academics. So I understand that you studied in Brisbane. So tell me a bit about how you transitioned from that and then realizing that, that pursuing your passion for cars was the way to go.
Well, just like every kid when you're in school, right? We're so conditioned to societal norms, like what are the do's and what are the don'ts. So like back then, I graduated as an accountant. How I was being put in this situation is how I was taught or brought up by my family. And like, I come from a humble town called Ipoh, which I'm really proud of until today. And I came to KL, I did my studies, and then I did a training program to Australia. And like, I'm not ashamed to actually share with you that I flunked all my papers, right? And like, I was never a very academic person. And I realized that like, this is what I'm short of. Like, this is my drawback, or this is my shortcomings, right? And I realized that like, I was always wanting to prove. As I was trying to excel in my studies, I realized that like, I was forced to do it. For whatever I'm doing today, yes, it happened by chance, but then also the real lessons that I've learned was right after university. I've actually came back from Australia. I continued my studies in Malaysia. I would tell my family that like, you know what, Australia is not for me, but actually I flunked all my exams and it was a lie, right?
Wow.
But at that very moment, I still feel that like, I need to prove to the family, you need to excel in your studies to be successful in life. And I realized that like, this is just a societal norm. The do's and don'ts, who you are, who you're not, is actually what people plant into you, right? And like, yeah, I just work hard along the way. And I've at a very young age, I was very bold in my thinking. I had really big ambitions, and a lot of people in my family would discourage me, would compare me with the other family members. Like, you know what, this guy's a doctor, this guy's an engineer, like, what are you doing in life, right? So I at that point, I always feel that like there's a point to prove to the people around me. And then I realized, right, like I said earlier, the real lesson and the teachings come from right after school. The experience that I get, I have to give it up to the people that I meet after university.
I definitely agree and resonate with what you said, like getting a good degree, pursuing a degree as an engineer, a lawyer, accountant, a banker. These are all very Asian, I guess, Asian family mindset, right? At the end of the day, I would say our parents want the same outcome for us, which is achieving success. The way we get there doesn't necessarily matter as long as you have the results to back it up with, right? But obviously, like you said, it was a huge risk to take at that point. What did that transition look like for you? So did you ever work a corporate job?
No, I tried applying. Right after the graduation, I tried applying to be an auditor or to be an accountant, right? And then I realized that like, you know what? This is not really for me. I've applied, I went for my first interview, and then came the second interview. Then I realized that like, hey, I have been doing things like how people around me instructed me to do. And like this time around, I feel that like, you know what? Just follow your heart and just do what you like, right? So it's easy to say that like, just do what you like. But I have to give it up to my parents. They come from a very humble background. For them to be able to send us, like the kids, to overseas for studies, they've worked really hard. When I was young, certain thinking of like, you have to be hardworking and then you see results. Those are their thinking. Today, in hindsight, they're not wrong, but they're just limited in knowledge. And I realized today, I went through my studies, and that's not everything, right? The real work starts after university. I put myself out there. Cars were always my passion. However, when I first started, I never had a chance to deal with cars like this today, but I always had a dream. I always want to work towards that. So back then when I was young, what we used to do, the peers, people would go clubbing, partying and stuff. I used to be one of them, but I had an objective. A small town boy coming to KL, trying to learn the tricks of the trade, the culture. I was the late bloomer, right? So my intention was, in a very short period of time, wherever you go, I'll go. But I had that intention to learn from the bad boys, from the average boys, from the business people, from like billionaires. So I had the opportunity to learn from all these people, right? And along the way, I was always very receptive. And yeah, fast forward, I'm still learning today. And I always believe this famous saying that goes, if you're smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I'll always try to
Put yourself
work, put myself out there,
yeah.
you're right, and meet people who are bigger than me, try and learn from them, try and be uncomfortable. I used to be a person who was really conservative. It took me so many years to actually realize it's okay for you to be rich. It's okay for me to be poor today. But my intention is, I don't need the money from you, but I need your wisdom. So I've always had this since young. I put myself out there where it is out of my comfort zone. The way how I socialize with certain people. I never had this when I was young, right? But along the way, I learned.
So Billy, tell me how this journey started.
So this passion for cars right now, in hindsight, I feel it came from me trading cars. So I used to be that guy who had like few grand in the bank account. And like those days, there were no social media. They were like star classifieds. I would then look at like cheap buys on papers.
Motor traders as well.
Yeah, motor traders as well. Stars classified motor traders will buy and refurbish these cars. Back then it was one car. Refurbish this car, make a couple $100.
How did you get that idea?
Well, I guess back then, when I was growing up, I was always, of course, like from my background, when I wake up, I see car parts, accessories and stuff. I used to always breathe in, breathe out with automotive, buy automotive. And I realized that like, hey, you know what? What's the best way to own a car and still make money? So I started off as like, I remember our local made cars. So I used to buy, did it up, and I will resell it, right?
How much were you spending on the cars and then on modifying them?
Couple of hundred, couple of grand, and then we will make like a mere 2-3 grand per car.
Okay.
It was enough to pay for the rent, the staffs that we had. And back then, right, when you're running a company, you have to try your best to show the people and your colleagues that you're doing well. But we were just
Getting by.
getting by. We're just making ends meet, right? So it started off as one car, right? And then it grew up to maybe 5 to 10 cars. Right?
You're modifying them yourself, or you had a team, a group of friends?
I had a group back then. We loved cars, right? So we would then know where's the cheapest place to go to refurbish certain things, certain items.
Okay, wow.
Right. So we started off as trading cars like a broker on papers while I was doing my final year in the
Oh,
university.
you're doing it while studying still?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was not a very proud thing to do back then because the high achievers will look at you like, you know what, you're not excelling in studies, but like you're doing all these part-time jobs. And you have to remember academics, everything. So I started flipping cars, flipping, and then I realized like, hey, you know what, this is quite a cool job. It was in my interest where I get to deal with cars and also make a little bit of money. I started off my first dealership in like a very shabby, like a very dilapidated place somewhere around Sunway. And then we used to operate the business under like a zinc, right? And then we used to sell like local made cars. That's how we
And
started.
you were
right?
renting out the space, or you're just like an open space?
Yeah, I had a little bit of seed money
Okay.
from my family, which I told them, you know what, this is my dream. And then they were like, is this really what you want to do? We've sent you to overseas and you came back, you're a graduate today, you want to be a used car salesman. So back then, always beat myself out in a way that like, hey, you know what? Everyone around you, today all my peers, they are either doctors, lawyers, engineers, or really famous CFO in like a MNC, right? So back then I'm like, you know, I'm really not good in studies. But I was so afraid to be vulnerable, to be authentic. So I
do
was doing
something
all
different.
these side gigs to fill this up, to compensate, right? And then I only had this much money, and like I've proven a certain gross profit to the people who were really close to me. And I asked them for certain seed money. And then, yeah, they gave me my first round of investment or support.
How old were you when you were raising this?
24, 25.
And how much did you raise eventually from your friends, from yourself, from your family to start out the business?
I can't remember the exact numbers right now, but it was enough for me to hire a staff, few staffs actually, and then to run the show like a corporate company, but under like a top, under a zinc roof, right? Under like a tree, right?
You still have pictures?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'd love to see them later.
So and then, yeah, fast forward from like 10 cars, we were doing like 30, 40 cars. And then I paid off this first round of investment that I got from my family, those who believe in my competency at the time. That's how I started actually. I remember one day when I was really young, right? Government schools will always have this tajuk, this title. Who do you want to be when you grow up? So my first ambition was to be a pilot. And back then, my family was like, you know what? High risk. No, we object.
Why high risk?
Back then, when you fly, anything could happen on the plane, you know, you're in the sky. So I remember writing this down. And I'll probably still have this paper if I am able to find it. And I remember I wrote in words, right? I really want to buy my dad and my mom the car that they like, because back then it's all about cars when we were young. So I really want to buy their dream car, which was a Ferrari. And then like in hindsight right now, my used car days, I used to go around looking at used cars under the sun. People would give me shit, right? Do you really know your shit? You're so young, right? Up to a point, I told them, look, I really want to move on. I really want to deal with Ferraris. I really want to deal with Italians. Now that I'm dealing with this kind of cars, thinking back of like that essay that I used to write, who do you want to be when you grow up, right? I've achieved this today. Back then, right, my family members, my friends, my close friends, none of them supported my dreams. They're like, no, you're thinking too big. It's too far-fetched. You have to be mindful. Those kind of negative advices. But I would say that like, I don't blame them, right? Because they don't see what I see, right? And then fast forward,
What did you see? What was the vision that you had? You know, having those 30, 40 cars, going from 510 to 30, 40 cars under the zinc roof to wanting to sell supercars. What was that vision that you had before you started selling supercars?
back then, honestly, bro, nothing was clear. The image was really vague. I just believed that like I can achieve. It wasn't a clear goal, right?
It's more like a feeling, a gut
A
instinct. Like,
feeling, yeah, back then, right? And then I spoke to people around me, hey, I need to race. They were like, no, we're not with you this time. Now thinking back, it was really, really a leap. Of course, I spoke to a lot of people. I've met people from all walks of my life. So I would always ask for advice. Like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about my dream? I would say 80% of the advice that I get, right, are like negative advices. I only follow the 20% that believed in me. I only need the 20% of the people that gave me that push, right? Fast forward, here we are today.
so going back to what you were saying, raising that money to turn your dream of selling supercars into reality, how did that happen?
So remember, even like my own immediate family, extended family, think that like I told you, your dream is just way too big. And I had this friend which I've learned a lot from, right? And we're still like really close buddies. He told me one thing, bro, how much do you need to run this business? And I thought he was really, really loaded, right? When he asked me this question. I'm like, this much. And he was the only person, other than my family members, told me, certain family members told me that like, bro, if there's anyone that deserves success, it is you. And like, I asked him, why do you say so? You're saying this because we are buddies. You're making me feel good. And he was the guy who believed in me, in my work ethics. And like, basically we grew up together. He was not a person that is very much older than me, but he is much wiser. And I believe this person, I remember this specifically this time when he told me, bro, I'll try to raise it. If you need this money, it's on standby for you. So I told him this, bro, thank you so very much. During this time when no one believes in my dream, you are here to support me. But I don't need the funds yet. Let me try on my own, right? But if I ever need, right, I will come to you. And it's really comforting to know that you have supporters like this. And now I realize that like a lot of people will not support and will not like to see you succeed. But they're only that few very truthful, intricate friends that will be there for you. So I believe my talent is to be able to spot as I go along, I'll be more authentic, I'll be more vulnerable. I attract more and more of this kind of really good friends. I wouldn't say they are like my supporters, my investors, but they've given me things that is more valuable than money and wealth. They've given me experience, wisdom, knowledge. And these are the friends that I felt was so important to me back then. Imagine if like I was hanging out or my peers were like the people who are not so forward thinking. The outcome is really different. Don't you think so?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So fast forwarding, you were able to raise seed capital to start up One Corsa. How many cars did you start with, and how do you start growing that business?
Okay, interesting story, right? What happened was I was able to co-broke with this group, which they were already there, right?
Okay.
And I had this opportunity to learn from these people. You have to be really technical sound to deal with this kind of cars. So I've learned a lot from this group, and specifically this person that I really want to thank, right? Who has spearheaded like my journey today. So what happened was like back then we used to co-share this space, beautiful space. So from like dealing with like pre-owned used cars, I got into importing cars, right? This was my first few cars that I imported. I needed their help because they had the resources. So at one point, our teams were more active than the core team. And then we grew the business in a short time span, right? We grew the business so much. And like, there was a conflict of interest. It was this time of the year, I remember it was January, we were asked to leave because there was conflict of interest whereby we were selling more of like our type of cars and not their type of cars. So we were asked to leave. Back then, of course, we were just about to build this company, and
One
we've
Corsa
got-
existed already, right?
yeah, already existed. So we are about to get traction, right? And we were asked to leave. And we were given like less than a month to fuck off, to just, get out. And then I felt like my whole world collapsed because it was year 2020 when Hiram was due, my son.
Yeah.
My wife was pregnant. My wife was like 8 months in. And I received this news. And I told all my colleagues, right? Like, I was asked to pack our bags and go. Like, would you want to follow me? So I told back then my partner, which is today my managing partner.
Kenji.
Yeah, Kenji. So like, hey, I believe in my vision. Do you think you want to follow me on this journey, right? So while this world is all collapsing, right? I felt that like, what should I do, man? I'm just embarking on this journey to build my business from this level to another level. And then I realized that like we had to start looking for a place, for a place to store like 10, 15 cars that we had at that time.
Or at this point, they were all supercars, right?
Most of them,
Okay.
right? Most of them. We had like some pre-owned cars, we had some supercars. I remember that like I felt so helpless. I didn't know who should I go to, what should I do. But I remember these few colleagues that followed me, that believed in my journey. So in that month, we obviously, number one, you need to have resources to relocate. You need to look for the right space, right? So, but we left. And then how we had to respect, right? But I had to thank this person so much that If not for this move, right, I would still be a normal car dealer doing what I used to do. But because of this push, I'm so thankful. Before looking for that right space, right, we had that buffer, that 2 months buffer, that we had to do business in my house. So I remember every morning we will be at the patio. And then
So all the cars, all the 10, 15 cars were
all
parked in your
10,
house.
15 cars will be like,
wow.
some will be parked outside my house. So my neighbors will know, my neighbors will
And you're
know.
still running sales at this point, Billy? Like inquiries were still coming in?
Yeah. So the ads were still up. Business were going on as status quo as per usual. And but it felt really heavy, you know, because my son was coming
Yeah.
and like we had to do sales at home. Right? It wasn't so cool, right? If you want to buy like a supercar, you won't go to someone's house to buy a supercar, right?
Yeah.
And how to convince a buyer to buy like $1 million ringgit, you know, asset from you when they come to your house, they're like,
Yeah.
well, we had to do what we had to do until we're able to do what we want to do, right? So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, then we found this place, right? We're like, hey, shit, now how much do we need for the deposit, utilities, and etc. etc. We were like, shit, we don't have that much, man.
How much is it?
Sub 200,000, and we had no money to renovate, right? Because all of our money were in the stocks. So it's a very capital intense business.
Yeah.
So I remember liquidating some cars to get the money, and we got this place, right?
How many cars did you have to liquidate?
4 cars.
Okay.
Then we realized when we got into this place, we had like only 4 cars, this space.
And how big is the space again?
6,000.
What's the capacity? How many cars could you fit here?
We can do easily 18.
And you have 4.
We had 4.
Wow.
When you have your back against the wall, right?
Yeah.
You only have to move forward. You're like, you have to believe in yourself. You don't need to know A to Z to run a business, right? Assuming you only know A to D. And then you just learn
Even
along
A
the
to
way.
B, right? I guess. Even A to B.
Yeah, A to B, yeah.
The next step. Yeah.
Along the way, you learn, you pick up, you tweak, you pick up, you tweak, you learn, you build a business, you scale a business. And then I remember this very much. That like my son was born on the second week of March, and on the third week of March, it was the actual first lockdown.
Wow.
I've got a newborn. I'll take care of my house, my family, and then I've got a brand new showroom, right? With only 4 cars. So what happened was, I remember telling my partner, I said, look, bro, it's just you and me. We don't have to look left, we don't have to look right. If we don't do it, it's on us.
Yeah. Just tunnel vision.
Yeah. So what we did was, I remember lockdown, we found our way to come to office every day. There were no ID, there were no curtains back then. And the showroom is all glasses, right? So the sun is all shining in. And then we had to find a way to transact, right? First lockdown. So we went through 4 or 5 years of our customer base, printed out in like papers. And I told him, you know what we should do? We should call each and every one of them. And I pretend that like we have clients for the cars that we sold to them 2-3 years ago.
How many people did you have on the list? 1,000? 2,000?
4,000 to 5,000 maybe.
Oh wow.
So we had to go through every day from 8 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m. or late at night. And then we can go back. Because after 10 you can't travel already. So during this window, every day, we'll pick up our phones and we'll call, hey, so-and-so, remember the car that we sold you? I might have this Dato who wants to buy it for his son. You want to sell it? Back then it was COVID, right? A lot of uncertainty. So some of them like, hey, you know what? If you have a buyer, I don't mind, right? So I had this kind of support. I wouldn't say support. I mean, we were doing it every day so that like we had something to do. So and then we realized that like the past clients who trusted our service actually believed in what we say. But actually we didn't have any clients for their cars. We just made it up just so that we have more cars in the showroom to sell, right? So in this business, in this industry, you have more stocks, you have more clients. This is what we did. We only had 4 cars. Try to fill this showroom with a lot of cars. So this is how we realized that like our clients really trusted us or really enjoyed this journey of owning supercars with us. So then we got all the stocks, right? What do we do? How are we going to liquidate them on behalf of these owners? So then we realized that like dealing with all these years dealing with this ultra high net worth people, realized that like the confidentiality is really important. The PNC is really important. Good question, because some of them is not really comfortable of letting public know. Number one, they have this kind of cars in their garage. Number two, why are you selling these cars during COVID? Does it mean that like business is so
Yeah.
for you? So we had to downplay it so low. We were representing these cars like selling brand new cars. Like this cars has got no owners. So now we have like 20, 30 cars in the showroom. We then call the buyers, the potential buyers, or the collectors. Hey, Datuk Sri, you know what? We have this really nice Ferrari. It's a steal because it's COVID, right? People can't drive their cars. And some of them, they are really motivated to sell. When they are very motivated to sell, we will then tell them that like, you know what? That it's definitely below market. So that's how we match, right?
So, following the strategy to increase the number of inventory you have in store, like you said, more stock, more buyers, more interest, more footfall, more people come into your showroom, and then also having the assets on your balance sheet so that you can pay off or cover any expenses that you may have. Yeah, how long did it take for you to recoup your initial investments or any losses that you may have had?
We took around 24 months. It was a lot of work, right? We're sweating in this showroom where we didn't have curtains and like we were still grinding. I remember inviting friends, clients, customers during the second lockdown, third lockdown, when everything was more at ease, right? Inviting them over to impress them. Hey, you know what? With this kind of stocks, right? Interesting enough, recently I had this chat with my managing partner. We spoke about this, right? He said like, hey, bro, do you remember when we had to leave this company and we had to start on our own? In hindsight, right, we think back, right, how much did we take or how much did we invest for this business to run today in this capacity? And we realized, right, it was not a lot of money, but it was a lot of hard work. And we both agreed that like, well, we came a long way. Like, we pushed through, you know? We survived COVID. My son was a newborn, right?
Wow.
We survived COVID. Today, I'm so happy that he's 6 years old. And like, yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was really worth it.
Right now, we'll do some quick fire questions around One Corsa and the business and your vision with the future and stuff. So, maybe if I could ask, how many units do you guys sell last year, 2025?
So, an average, every month on a good year, we do a healthy 9 to 10 units
A month.
of these kind of cars, yeah. And we're really blessed, right, with like clients who believe in us and who will always come back year in, year out to upgrade cars. I mean, we are not like huge company, but we are really personal with our clients. So we're really blessed with like this set of clientele that who still right now stand by us, believe in us, and we really owe it to them.
The luxury car industry is very niche, and the niche is something is the greater the barriers of entry, and the more protected the existing players are. So, have you experienced any haters or competitors maybe underestimating your potential and hey, who's this guy? How is he? How did he get into the supercar space? How is he selling all these units?
Well, okay. First of all, yeah, I mean, we have competitors, you know, and some of them are healthy, some of them are unhealthy. What I believe is that like some of the haters out there, this is the driving force for us to move forward, right? And I also have established this mindset that like there are so many things that people want to say and like you just do you, right? Just believe in your process and haters will always be haters. Just be authentic. If you fucked up, you fucked up. Own your mistakes and be vulnerable and learn from there, right? Tweak your business, scale your business. This is a really good opportunity for you to learn. If you don't do mistakes, you don't learn, right? And I feel I'm really blessed, yeah.
And understand that you have two revenue channels. One is the consignment cars, and the other one is trading. So consignment is essentially being like a property agent, right? You get a cut of the transaction value, and your trading is buying a car upfront and then selling it. So if If you know on the top of your head, what is the percentage breakdown of the revenue from the consignment and from trading your cars?
It was during COVID that we realized that we had a fair share to deal with supercars because we had this group of clients that believed in us and consigned their cars with us. They trusted so much they just left a 1 million ringgit car with us, 2 million ringgit car with us. It was kind of like a soft loan.
Right.
So back then, the consignment part, it starts from 3% to 5%. We were the first during the COVID times, right? During the lockdowns, we were the first to realize that, like, hey, you know what? What are our customer value chain, right? What are their pain points, the supercar owners? We realized that, like, when they buy with emotions. But when they sell, the exit point is also really important. Like, how much you sell determines how much you bought this car for. Assuming you bought this car for 1 million, and like if you don't know how to sell it properly, you sell it for 300,000 or 400,000, right? Conventional used car dealer will lowball you for whatever reason that they have, right? So assuming like $1 million and you sell it for 400,000 or 500,000, technically you lose 500,000.
Yeah.
But like if you know how to exit this car well, we realized with this consignment service that we have for our back then existing clients, and now new clients are coming to us to consign their cars to us, right? We realized that, like, this is the service that we have that will find another end user that appreciate your pre-loved supercar, right? You don't want to sell your first Ferrari to someone that doesn't know how to take care of that Ferrari because it's sentimental, a lot of memories, right? So we realized with this service and this database that we have, we're getting this traction.
So you spoke about resale value there, right? I've read through all your Instagram posts. One thing that stood out to me and is very compelling to me is the resale market, the secondary market. So resale value for these luxury cars is essentially a function of the demand in the secondary market. What influences this demand?
I believe what influences the demand for a resale value of a car, it correlates to the demand of the brand. So assuming like right now, we were in Australia, and like in Australia, they've got high demands for utes, for Holdens, for those V8s, right? So technically, when you have demand for the used vehicles in that region, that brand has got better resale value. So in Malaysia, for instance, I would say Ferrari and Porsche is the top two.
Best resale value.
Yeah,
Okay.
the better resale value. Sometimes we have clients who have bought a car for 3 years, bought a Porsche and owned it for 3 years. We realized that, like, at the end of their term, of their ownership, we realized that they didn't lose at all.
Wow.
Yeah, there are instances like that. It really depends on the demand and supply and the trendiness of the brand. Yeah.
Things that stood out to me, so I went through all your Instagram posts, read through your website, took down notes of our chat. One thing is definitely that you emphasized on is how you stand out, right? Like in terms of, like, it's a very capital intensive business. A lot of these other dealers and offshore distributors have a lot more money. Where you guys stand out is the confidentiality and the customer experience. Like you have fine dining, whiskey tasting.
Yeah. So I think what sets us apart, right? What sets us apart is definitely the service. Like a lot of our clients, they are like first-time supercar owners, and like we would then educate them that, like, in our business, we find their pain points. So as we identify these pain points, we realize that, like, we are bringing them to a journey of, like, telling them, you know what, you've made money, this is your first supercar, and this won't be your last, right? Because the journey with us is that, like, we will then help you to sell, to another end user. You bought this car from us, yes, but we don't want you to lose that much because we still want to retain you as a client, right? So as we provide this service to resell these cars for you, we're keeping you as a client, and then maybe, you know what, hey, I didn't lose that much from the last car that I bought from you. Now I'm willing to buy another car. So a certain portion of our clients are like female entrepreneurs. Some of them, they really do not know how and where to send their cars to maintain, right? So we have this door-to-door concierge service where, like, you're a CEO, you're busy at your company, our team will come, pick up the car, sort it out for you, scheduled maintenance is done, repairs are done, tires change are done, brand new tires, and we'll send it back to you. So I believe I believe what's important for a supercar owner, which what sets us apart is this, that like the journey starts after the purchase of your first car. So I believe building long-term relationships in my business. Like I have clients who became my close friends. And like it was an opportunity for me back then because I really want to meet these kind of people that want to deal with these kind of cars, right? So with this long-term relationship, some of them has today became my close friends, my mentor, my business partners even. So I believe that like when your service is good, people will stay with you. We have loyal clients. When we have loyal clients, you will then be able to reinvest to your business to scale your business or to have a better business model. So I believe in opportunities. So like if you do not have this mindset of a long-term relationship with your clients, you'll not be able to then walk down this road of having this opportunity to scale your business because your clients believe in you, they give you opportunity, and when you have this opportunity and have this kind of revenue, you reinvest in your business, you will learn more and you will scale your business. So I always believe in like long-term relationships with the client. So it will not be like a one-off thing. This significantly set us apart. Like this is our business model. I will hang out with you, it's a long-term relationship.
I saw this caption on one of your Instagram posts, Billy. So 3 lessons every boy should learn early.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd love for you to elaborate on this 3. The first one is you won't always be the one in control. You have to learn to stay calm. Second one is respect the people doing the work, not just the ones being celebrated. Lastly is pressure is normal. It's how you respond to it that matters, and you need to learn to read pressure before it arrives. So maybe you could start with the first one. You won't always be the one in control. Learn to stay calm.
Very much relating to teamwork. This journey or this little success that we have, we owe it a lot to our team. Without our current team, we won't be able to achieve what we achieve today. And I realize that like it's important to celebrate every success. Every single colleague that you have in the company deserves recognition, deserves celebration. It's really not just about the face of the company or like the salespeople, the sales execs, but the people around them that has given this culture to our company. So that's what I really want my son to adopt at a very young age, right? That like teamwork is really important. Second would be very calm when pressure is coming onto you. How do you then handle pressure? In every sports, you need to be really calm when you're under pressure. So when you're calm, you make the right decisions. Yeah, so I guess this is what I was trying to put. Yeah.
No, I love that. I think a man's mental toughness is dependent on few things, 3 things. One is how easily you are affected by something. Secondly is when you're affected by it, what is the extent of emotions that you show. Third is how long does it take for you to revert to baseline.
Yeah.
Right? The quicker you revert to baseline, the harder it is for something to affect you. And lastly, the less emotional you get when something does affect you. That's the equation for mental toughness. But Billy, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who they'll be leaving it for. So the question is, if you were to go back in time, let's say 5 years ago, is there anything that you would do differently? And what would you tell your younger self?
If there's anything that I would tell the younger self, my younger self would be open-minded, because a lot of our beliefs today are actually not from us. It's from the people around us.
Yeah.
We are shaped by their beliefs,
Yeah.
and they are shaped by their peers' beliefs.
Yeah.
And like if I could tell my younger self earlier, would be do not be so affected by how people think of you. As long as you're authentic, you're doing the right things, ethically you're right, morally you're right, just go ahead. There's no right or wrong in this world. It's just like how you perceive it. It's either you have to live in this duality. I would tell myself you have to live in this duality, that like whatever you do right now is not the only way to success. Or whatever you do right now is not the only way to failure. There's always 2 sides to a coin. And when you approach every obstacles, challenges, life experiences with this duality mindset, my journey will be accelerated even faster. So yeah, that's the advice that I would give my younger self. You don't have to care too much on how people think of you, right? And just be yourself. Do what you do best.
I love that, Billy. Billy, I've really enjoyed the past hour listening and speaking with you over here. I think your story is very inspiring, coming from a small town, Ipoh, doing something that you didn't necessarily enjoy. So trying to being an accountant and then applying for accounting jobs, and then having the courage to break away from from societal norms, and from that mold that has shaped you for 22 years, and then doing something that you're passionate in, building the One Corsa is today. I think it's definitely very inspiring. I think it's a message to everyone else who's listening. As you said, stay authentic to your dreams. I love what you said earlier about the 80%, 20%. More often than not, when there are someone who's negative towards your dreams, there's always going to be someone who's positive as well. But we always put more emphasis on the people who are negative. So why can't we focus more on the positive notes and allowing those voices to be louder? There's this quote that I love: if you're afraid of the cost of pursuing your dreams, wait till you get the bill from regret. Right? I think the worst thing to do is not trying at all. But yeah, if those who are listening would want to learn more about yourself, follow your journey and what you do, where would be the best place to follow you? Instagram?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram,
And your Instagram is at Billy Ooi?
Billy Ooi.
Okay.
Yeah. And then again, before we end, I have to be, again, very truthful that like, this is my journey. We're just comparing notes, right? We're always learning. So yeah, this is just a sharing session, which I am really happy that you've invited me on your podcast. And yeah, all the best to you.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
Cheers, Billy. Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks, bro.
All right, that's a wrap.
How do you do? All good?
Good, bro. I can't wait to